Welcome back to the online sessions on embedded systems. In the previous session, we discussed about the basics of embedded systems, a definition of an embedded system and the types of embedded systems, skills required to design an embedded system, uh, and some of the examples of embedded systems. Okay, all those important points we have discussed on the embedded systems, and we have concluded that an embedded system is basically a computer based system normally meant to perform a specific task is known as a embedded system in general. So before we simply discuss about 8051 microcontroller, let us try to discuss the differences between a microprocessor and a microcontroller. So the basis to understand the microcontroller is known as microprocessor, of course, because we are simply moving from microprocessor to the microcontroller. We are making a shift of a digital system from microprocessor unit to a microcontroller unit. Therefore, first of all, we try to understand the differences between the microprocessor and microcontrollers. Okay, so let us try to look into the differences between these two. So we'll just look into these two differences. So the first difference that we can really think of is going to be a CPU. So in a microprocessor and microcontroller, we usually going to have a CPU. So what is the main purpose of a CPU? The main purpose of a CPU is to process the instructions given by the user. So the main job of CPU is what to perform arithmetic and logic operations. So both microprocessor unit and a microcontroller unit is going to have a CPU. So what is the main difference? As I spoke to you earlier, the CPU is a standalone. So that means CPU will be coming as an independent IC. So next is for in order to in order to form a system, we need to have many other peripherals connected to the CPU. So that means we are going to have RAM, ROM, IO, input, output, timers are going to be separate in the case of a microprocessor system. Whereas coming to the microcontroller, CPU, RAM, ROM, input, output, and timers are all going to be on a single chip. Whereas in microprocessor, CPU is itself is going to be a standalone. So if at all you wanted to use a RAM memory or ROM memory, or you want to use timers, IOs, so all these things has to be compulsorily interfaced with the microprocessor unit by using certain programmable peripheral interfacing devices such as H155, 8255 to interface with memory and IO devices. And similarly, we're going to use 8279 to interface keyboard. We're going to use 8253 to interface timers. Okay, and similarly, we're going to have serial communication ports, parallel communication ports, and you're going to use UART interfacing chips. So like that, we normally going to use many interfacing ICs to connect various peripherals to the CPU. So that means here microprocessor CPUs will be coming as standalone, whereas in microcontroller all of these CPU along with peripherals will be coming in a single chip. That is the main difference. The next difference is going to be it uses different ICs for memory and IO. So this is what we are talking about. Separate ICs will be used for memory as well as IO here. That means you can just simply go on extend the number of memory chips that we can use, the number of input output devices that you can connect to the microprocessor by using the interfacing devices. Whereas coming to the microcontroller, the memory and IO are going to be inbuilt. Since memory and IO are going to be inbuilt, you really cannot extend the memory and IO devices that are connected to the microcontroller after you design any microcontroller based system for practical applications. So there is another difference. And next one is no inbuilt timer in microprocessor unit, and there is going to be inbuilt timer in the microcontroller unit. So the timer is a very important application to perform in the computer based systems, because based on the timers only we are going to control the clock pulses. We are going to control the delay of operations that can be performed, and we can simply perform the synchronization between various processes in the system can be really programmed by using timers. So therefore timers are going to be very important units in the computer based systems. Therefore in the case of microprocessor, timers are not inbuilt, whereas in microcontroller timers are going to be inbuilt units. That means to use a timer, we have to interface compulsorily timers in microprocessor unit, whereas in microcontroller, we need not interface. That means whatever elements or whatever units are peripherals which are inbuilt in a microcontroller, in a microcontroller, need not be interfaced. Whereas in the case of microprocessor, all the peripherals has to be compulsorily interfaced with the microprocessor. That is the one of the problem we have differences. And microprocessor is expansive. You can increase the memory that you can connect to the microprocessor. You can increase the IO devices you can connect to the microprocessor. You can increase the number of processing ICs. So therefore you can just simply have a math processor, you're going to have a database processor, you're going to have arithmetic processor, you're going to have a DSP processor. All these can be interfaced with the microprocessors. Therefore it can be called as expansive in nature, whereas in the case of microcontroller it is not going to be expansive. Therefore we call it as a non-expansive in nature. What is the meaning of this non-expansive? As I was talking to you, the microcontroller is normally designed to perform a specific task. Once you design an application using a microcontroller, that particular design is used only for that particular application. It is something like once you design a printer using a microcontroller, and that particular system is normally going to used as only a printer, but not as a scanner or some other devices. Okay, whereas in the case of the microprocessor, it is going to be expansive, which means what? You can enhance the printer capabilities by connecting these to some other printers. You can enhance the printer capabilities with the scanner applications. So these kind of things expands to where you can simply go on increase the capabilities of a microprocessor by interfacing it with external devices. Whereas coming to microcontroller, you really cannot increase the capability of a microcontroller after an application is designed using a microcontroller. Therefore, it comes under simply non-expansive in nature. The next, the more generalized meaning for microprocessor is going to be general purpose. So, in our houses or in our colleges, we're going to see PCs. What is PC? PC is normally going to have a general purpose. It is normally meant for general purpose operations. What is the meaning of general purpose operations? Using the same PC, you can install and run various programs. That means you can install J2M, you can install Java virtual machine, you can install .NET, you can install data communication applications, you can install ECAD tools for any branch of the engineering field. So and that means what, by using a single microprocessing unit, you can simply going to get many applications from it. Therefore it comes under general purpose operation. Whereas coming to microcontroller, it is going to be a single purpose. This is what I was talking to you. The embedded system is going to normally perform a single task, or more or less I can say it is a specific task. So it is normally meant to perform a specific task. Now the specific task may be one or many. Say for example, if a particular system is performing 10 different tasks, tomorrow I want to enhance the capabilities of that system. Now it's not possible if you normally going to design an embedded system. So that's the problem here. So therefore if you use a microcontroller, you really cannot enhance its capabilities. It is normally designed to perform a single specific task. So therefore, we simply call it as a single purpose. That means all the 10 different operations, all the 10 different tasks can be simply made into single purpose. So what I mean by saying single purpose is normally going to have many different tasks to perform. It is not just going to be only one task. So it is a term which is normally used very specifically here. So next important difference is the microprocessor is normally going to contain many instruction types and modes of operation. It operates in maximum mode and minimum mode in general 8086 microprocessor, whereas it normally supports many instruction types. The instruction is going to be of many types. If you talk in terms of assembly code, you're normally going to have many instruction types. Like memory operations you can perform by so many types of instructions. So many addressing modes are there: direct addressing mode, register addressing mode, index addressing mode, okay, so on and so forth. Many types of instructions are also going to be there in the case of a microprocessor. And in order to program a microprocessor unit, compulsorily you have to depend on the opcodes or on the instructions in the microprocessor unit or a microprocessor instruction set. Coming to the microcontroller, is normally going to have less instruction types and modes. See, this is the difference here. Due to this reason, the microcontroller is going to be very faster than the microprocessing unit in terms of execution of instructions. Since it contains very less instruction types and modes, it executes instructions faster than the microprocessors. And most of the time in microcontroller, we'll try to hard code the devices which are connected or peripherals which are connected to the microcontroller unit. In order to increase the speed of operations, we are normally going to prefer hard coding of the devices. So we'll discuss about what is hard coding and all once we normally go into the microcontroller program. So I'll just give a gist of this now. The next is microprocessor. Basically memory is byte oriented. So usually the microprocessing unit is normally going to read and write instructions in terms of bytes. So, and the microcontroller is basically here microcontroller basically memory is bit oriented. As I was talking to you now, we are normally going to do some hard coding. In hard coding, we normally going to program on bits based on the condition of bits, whether it is 0 or 1 or a combination of zeros or ones. It is directly going to execute certain instructions. Directly it is going to give instructions to the peripherals connected to the microcontroller. So thereby we reduce coding of the microcontrollers. Because whenever we write a code, what are the problems of writing a code? So code, once you write any code, maybe assembly code or high level language or whatever it is, this code has to be understood by the underlying compiler. So compiler or assembler is going to understand, it's going to convert that to the another language. After that, that code, that particular code has to be fetched from the memory into the instruction queue. From the instruction queue in 8086, it has to be executed. So that means these many processes are taking place before the instruction is getting executed. So it takes some time for all these processes to perform in the microprocessor based unit. Whereas coming to microcontroller, all of them are suspended just by hard coding it. That means straight away, whenever the bit combinations are seen by the microcontroller unit, immediately that will be sent to the execution unit, surpassing all the various syntax rules checked by the compilers, and instruction byte, instruction queue, instruction queue, execution unit, all these are simply going to get suspended. This particular sequence of operations is suspended in the microcontroller unit. Thereby it increases the speed drastically while executing the instructions. So these are the some of the differences, main differences between microprocessor and a microcontroller units. So in short, what we can see, a microcontroller as a small computer. So what is a computer? Computer is known as a system. What do you mean by a system? System is known as an interconnection of different types of subsystems, is known as a system. That means in a system, if you think about this as a system now, CPU is going to perform processing. That means the job done by CPU is different. Then RAM, random access memory. It is normally used to write some programs onto it and read some programs from it. So it can be erasable also. That is called RAM. Whereas ROM, read only memory. That means RAM operation is different, ROM operation is different. IO port operation is different, serial COM port, serial communication port operation is different, timer operation is different. Now all these various devices are being connected to work in a single unit. That means when the different subsystems are connected for a particular purpose, then it is simply known as a system for us. So therefore we simply call a system as an interconnection of various subsystems. It is like a human body is interconnection of many different types of elements. So every element is different of its own kind, but still all the elements are simply working together. Same is the case with the machine system or whatever that we normally think of. So microcontroller, we can call it as a small computer because it contains many subsystems. Okay, subsystems need not be same. It can be different. Every system in the system, every subsystem in the system are going to be same or it may be different. But all of them will be performing a task collectively is what called a system for us. So a microcontroller is going to have on-chip RAM, ROM, IO ports, timers, serial COM ports, and etc. Many things will be there. So based on the application, different microcontrollers have been designed, developed, and the capacities of microcontroller can be increased by doing such a tailoring job. What we call it as a tailoring job. What is tailoring? You already know what is tailoring. So that means whatever we wanted to have, we'll keep it like that. Whatever we don't want, we simply remove it. So it is based on the size, requirement, capacities, cost. Okay, many other aspects. We normally going to keep the chips, or remove the elements or remove the chips. Okay, from the system. So that is what called a microcontroller based type of the system in general. So therefore, since the various elements or components or subsystems used in the microcontroller system are all going to perform a specific task, and it is normally going to employ a Harvard architecture. Now, what type of architecture is normally used in the microcontroller based systems? It's definitely going to be Harvard architecture, because Harvard architecture is normally meant for tailored kind of architectures or a customizable architecture. In a more technical terms, we call it as a customized architecture. Whenever you want to customize architecture, we use definitely a Harvard architecture, Harvard computer architecture. And what are the examples of such microcontrollers now? Motorola's 6811, Intel's 8051, Zilog Z8, PIC microcontrollers of 16X series. So all these are microcontrollers, and all these elements are going to sit in a single chip, which is known as a microcontroller, and that chip is known as the integrated chip. Okay, it is something like a VLSI chip, very large scale integrated chip. Okay. So let us discuss further on the differences between the microprocessor and a microcontroller. General purpose microprocessor acts as CPU for computers. So general purpose microprocessor acts as CPU for computers. So CPU alone, okay, is known as a general purpose microprocessor. That means the CPU is normally going to share its resources. That means what CPU is going to have, basically CPU is going to have arithmetic unit, logic unit, internal memory units, internal registers. Okay, so all these things are going to be there internal to the CPU. Now the CPU's work will be shared by many peripherals connected to the CPU. Say this RAM, ROM, IO ports, timers, serial COM ports are all connected to the CPU by using the address and data buses. So using address buses, what we'll do, the CPU is normally going to locate the hardware device using the address bus, just like a postal system. Okay, so once we normally give a pin code, so based on the pin code, the postal system is normally going to locate the house. Similar to that, in the address bus, the CPU is normally going to place the address of the appropriate peripheral device connected to it, and it will be identified. Then using data bus, the data is normally going to get transferred from the external peripherals into the CPU, or from CPU into the external peripherals. The data transfer is normally going to get take place by the data bus unit. So this entire thing is known as a motherboard, including CPU, all this stuff is simply known as a motherboard for us. So now it is not going to be only this many. For an example sake, I have taken only some 5 peripherals, but we may have n number of such peripherals connected to the microprocessing unit. Only thing is that you have to bother is, as you go on increase the number of peripherals connected to the CPU, the capacity of the CPU or specifications of the CPU should compulsorily be increased. If capacity is increased, it can simply drive many other devices. If capacity is not increased, it cannot drive many other systems. Something like a, there is a engine of goods train, there is engine of GT Express. That is the difference. So the engine of GT Express is going to be more powerful than goods. The reason being is that if you see the GT Express, it is going to be very, very long. It has to drive many bogies. So the capacity or specifications of that engine has to be increased to drive many number of devices. So similar to that is going to be this constraint, obviously going to be there for a microprocessor based systems, or I can call it as a general purpose microprocessor based system, is known as our general PCs. Our normal PCs are known as a general purpose microprocessor based systems. Then we move on to the microcontroller. That means, what are the conclusions we can make on this? The microprocessor does not contain, the microprocessing unit does not contain RAM, does not contain ROM, does not contain ports, does not contain any other external peripheral devices connected to it directly. So that's the problem here. What are the examples of such microprocessors? 8086, 80286, 80386, 80486, Pentium 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. All these are the processors. And Motorola's 680 series is going to be the examples of the microprocessor based subsystems. Now coming to the 8051 family members, the most importantly we have 8051 in the syllabus. So all these elements like ROM, RAM, timers, IO ports, serial ports, okay, and interrupt controls, are all these are normally going to get contained in the single chip along with the CPU. This is what the main thing which we have. That means the microcontroller can be called as a computer, can be called as a computer system. So system means what? It should have input, it should have output, it should have memory, it should have some other special purpose memories, memory units, all those things. So everything has to be resided in the single chip only. Now that's what happening in the microcontroller based system. So both microprocessor and microcontroller are known as the digital computers only, digital computer based systems only. The only difference is that microprocessor unit, you cannot call it as a system, whereas 8051 microcontroller you can call it as a system because it contains many other subsystems. So now what is most important for the examination point of view is that these are specifications of 8051. Now as I tell you already, that a microcontroller is going to be single purpose, and it cannot be expandable. It cannot be expandable. That means whatever that it is normally going to have, it will be remain as it is without any change. We have to simply live with it. So once you design anything for a practical application, say for example printer or say washing machine, once you design it, that's it. You have to live with it. If you don't like it or you like it, doesn't matter. You have to live with it. Just like a human body, once you get a body, you have to live with it. You really cannot change in between that because of our reasons. So it is something like that. So therefore it has got, most importantly, you have to remember these values, because these values are going to be fixed. You really cannot change, because 8051 in the market comes with these values of the peripherals. So rom is normally going to contain 4 kilobytes of memory. So in ROM, what we store? We normally store programs in the ROM area, random read-only memory. In read-only memory, we store our programs. See, this is the difference between the ROM in microprocessor and a microcontroller. In the microprocessing unit in ROM, what will be stored in ROM? It is the BIOS software. BIOS software will be stored in the ROM area. So whenever you start on the computer, the BIOS software is normally going to get executed. So based on the BIOS software, your entire system will be identified. The various components or peripherals connected to the computer, so-called a CPU, connected to the CPU, are identified. And after that, they are going to get enabled. They are initialized and they will be made ready to run because of that particular program in the ROM, that is called read-only memory. But actual program that we use to execute, to be executed by the computer, is normally going to get stored in the RAM area. That means we normally store all of them in the hard disk. From hard disk, it will be coming into the RAM area. From RAM area, it is simply going to get executed. Whereas coming to 8051 microcontroller, what is that? As I tell you, it is going to be a specific purpose. So your executable programs, the executable program of the entire application will be stored in the ROM area, that is called read-only memory. Once you burn the software into the microcontroller, you cannot change that software. That is what the basic, uh, basic difference between microprocessor and a microcontroller. In a microprocessor based unit, say today we install Java virtual machine. Okay, today we install Java. Okay, JDK 1.5. Then tomorrow we uninstall this and we install .NET. Now you can start using .NET. Whereas in microcontroller, that is not the case. If you install Java into it, say for example, Java is a very big program, you cannot install in microcontroller. As an example sake, I am telling you. So if you install some program, that's it, you have to leave with that. You cannot really change later on. That's a problem here. So because it is actually the purpose of 8051 is not general purpose. It is specific purpose for automated systems. That means if at all you want to design any robo application, then you normally prefer microcontrollers. You want to design artificial intelligence system, you're normally going to design it using a microcontroller. We don't prefer microprocessor based systems. So that means what, you normally going to hard code and you're normally going to burn the software which will be implemented, executed without the human intervention. That is what called automated systems or AI systems. Okay, anyway, so this is what ROM. So in ROM, what will be stored? Program space in bytes. That means ROM contains the program space. Whatever programs, executable programs that need to get executed will be stored in the ROM. Then what is RAM? Random access memory. Very, very small memory. It is going to be 128 bytes only. That means this RAM, why it is used? RAM is normally used to store the data, the temporary data, which is required when the program is being executed from the ROM area. That means whatever data required continuously, so that the program from ROM can be executed, that memory will be utilized in the RAM area. That means temporary registers will be there, temporary data will be there, which is required for the ROM program to get executed. So that's why this RAM will be there, and RAM is erasable memory. So once after you reset the program, and whatever data stored in the RAM is simply going to get erased. It has got two timers. Okay, then IO pins, it has got 32 IO pins. In a 40 pin IC, 32 pins have been used for input output ports only. So that means remaining ports are going to be only 8. That is why understanding the pin diagram of 8051 is very, very easy for us. Then serial port, it has got only one serial port. Using serial port, we normally going to perform serial communication. Serial communication is normally preferred for long distance communications. Whenever we have a short distance, we prefer parallel communication. When we have long distance, we normally prefer serial communications. Why? Because for long distance, we cannot use the parallel wire of kilometers distance. So we normally use a cable which is going to be very cheaper. Cable wire which will be very cheaper for us. Therefore, using cable wire, we have to transmit our data. Therefore, only one serial port is provided. It has got 6 interrupt sources, and we discuss in depth once we get into the 8051 microcontroller. Okay, so then 8051 is a subset of 8052. After 8051, 8052 has been designed, which has got somewhat advanced features than the 8051. So ROM has got 8K bytes, RAM has got 256 bytes, it has got 3 timers. Once again, same 32 IO pins, serial ports 1, interrupt sources are going to be 8. So that means 8031 is a ROM-less 8051. If you see 8031 and 8051, remove the ROM memory from 4K to 0K. Rest of things are going to be same. Therefore, it is going to be same as the ROM just by removing the ROM space given in the 8051 microcontroller. So this is what regarding the comparisons between the microprocessor and a microcontroller. In the next class, we'll continue with other features of 8051 microcontroller. Thank you for today's session.